King Charles shook Keir Starmer and forced new elections in UK.
I now dedicate what remains to me of my life. I pray for the guidance.
Britain has just witnessed a political earthquake. King Charles's live address left Prime Minister Keir Starmer stunned, Parliament in chaos, and the nation demanding change. Within seconds, 5 million citizens turned that shock into a single thunderous demand: an election. Now the clock is ticking. The king has just 48 hours to choose between saving democracy or sacrificing the crown, in a moment that could reshape the future of the United Kingdom forever. For weeks, Britain has been teetering on the edge. Approval ratings collapsing, ministers under fire, whispers of unrest spreading through every corner of Westminster. What began as quiet frustration over failed policies has exploded into a full-blown legitimacy crisis, unlike anything the country has faced in centuries. Inside Downing Street, panic has become permanent. Aides work through the night, phones buzz with leaks, and senior advisors describe the atmosphere as a government in freefall. It all started with one small spark. A simple petition appeared on Parliament's website, 7 words long: call immediate general elections in the United Kingdom. Within 24 hours, 100,000 signatures. Within 48 hours, 500,000. By the end of the week, more than 2 million. And it didn't stop. It kept climbing until the number hit 5.2 million and counting. That is more than the combined populations of Scotland and Wales. What began as digital frustration has become a national uprising. Nurses, teachers, veterans, small business owners, people who have nothing in common except exhaustion, are uniting behind one demand: let us vote. Inside Downing Street, fear has taken over. The heart of British power now feels like a bunker under siege. Phones ring non-stop. Ministers whisper about resignations that could come before dawn. Approval ratings have fallen to 18%, the lowest in modern history. 73% of Britons now believe the government has lost the right to govern. That is not political decline, it is the death of legitimacy. Parliament is fracturing, backbenchers are revolting, and opposition MPs are circling like sharks. Britain's leadership, once untouchable, now looks like a fortress crumbling from within. What began as private frustration over energy bills, crumbling hospitals, and broken promises has boiled into collective outrage. For once, it's not politicians leading the story, it's the people. From village pubs to underground trains, one question echoes everywhere: if the government won't listen, who will? Meanwhile, the outrage has moved online and turned into coordination. The hashtag #ElectionsNow has dominated the internet for 8 straight days, generating over 2 billion impressions and transforming anger into a movement. This is not celebrity activism. It is citizens taking control. Nurses record videos after night shifts. Teachers speak from empty classrooms. Small business owners film from shuttered shops. TikTok clips gain millions of views. YouTube channels explode with new audiences, and every platform echoes the same message: we want our democracy back. In less than a week, Britain's digital world has become a second parliament, louder and more united than the real one. Every post is a protest, every like a vote, every share a tightening grip on a government already collapsing under its own weight. Across the nation, the movement has spilled from screens onto streets. London's Trafalgar Square has become a sea of placards and voices. Manchester's city centre pulses with chants that shake the ground. In Birmingham, rail workers, healthcare staff, and civil servants have joined hands in the largest coordinated march since the 1970s. Police lines stretch thin, sirens wail through the night, and yet the protests remain remarkably peaceful, driven not by rage, but by resolve. A quiet discipline has taken hold. Every sign, every chant, every crowd pulse beats to the same rhythm. Election now. The chaos is no longer just political, it is financial. The pound has dropped 4% in a matter of days. The FTSE has lost over £80 billion in value, and investors are moving their assets out of the country. The Bank of England has held emergency meetings, warning that a full-blown financial crisis could hit within weeks if stability is not restored. The Federation of Small Businesses reports that 71% of its members now want immediate elections, not for political gain, but simply to survive. "We can't plan, we can't hire, we can't breathe," one owner said, "until this government is gone." Britain's markets are no longer reacting to policy. They are reacting to fear. And now the crisis has reached Buckingham Palace. For the first time in decades, protesters are not gathered outside Downing Street, but beneath the royal balcony. Thousands fill the streets holding signs that read, "Charles, choose democracy or be remembered as a puppet." The images are everywhere. Flags waving under grey London skies, chants echoing through the mall. The monarchy, long seen as untouchable, now stands at the centre of the storm. International media have turned the footage into a symbol of a country unravelling. Polls show King Charles's approval rating has dropped below 50%, the lowest since his coronation. For a monarch whose power depends entirely on public faith, that is not a statistic. It is a warning. Silence is no longer neutrality. It is complicity. And the nation is demanding to know whose side the crown is on. Newsrooms across the world have made Britain their top story. Major networks broadcast live outside Buckingham Palace. Breaking banners flash on screens in Washington, Paris, and Berlin. Editorials question whether this is the twilight of the British establishment. Global audiences watch a modern monarchy confront the same question that defined its past. Who truly rules? The crown or the people? The footage of protesters flooding the mall is replayed on a loop, accompanied by one headline repeated everywhere: "The King has spoken, now what?" Outside Buckingham Palace, the crowds don't move, they wait. A nation holds its breath, knowing that whatever happens next will decide how history remembers not just this government, but this generation. King Charles now stands at the heart of a historic dilemma. If he dissolves Parliament and calls new elections, he will be accused of launching a royal coup, breaking 3 centuries of constitutional neutrality. If he stays silent, he risks becoming the king who watched democracy die. The last time a British monarch dismissed a sitting government was in 1834, and now, nearly 200 years later, that precedent has returned. Act, and he risks the system. Stay silent, and he risks the nation. The crown has never carried such weight or such danger. Behind palace doors, the struggle has reached breaking point. The king has spent sleepless nights meeting with former prime ministers, legal experts, and royal advisors who know that one wrong decision could end the monarchy itself. Sources confirm private conversations with Lord Butler, John Major, and Tony Blair. Inside the palace, the divide runs deep. Traditionalists insist the crown must remain above politics or destroy itself by taking sides. Reformists, many of them younger advisors close to Prince William's circle, argue that silence is surrender, that neutrality means nothing if democracy falls. One reportedly told him, "You cannot be neutral between democracy and decay." Several versions of a royal address have already been drafted. One demanding elections, one urging calm, one trying to walk the impossible line between both. Every word carries the weight of history. Every choice could define the crown for generations. The world has noticed. In Berlin, Chancellor Olaf Scholz has privately urged Charles to restore order. In Paris, President Emmanuel Macron postponed a state visit, citing political uncertainty. The White House issued a statement calling for respect for democratic accountability. Even NATO has requested briefings on Britain's internal crisis, fearing instability inside its second-largest military power. International markets are jittery, investors are hesitating, and analysts are openly questioning whether Britain can still govern itself. The message from allies is simple: fix this, or risk losing the credibility that once defined you. Then came the moment that silenced the world. Parliament fell quiet as King Charles stepped forward to speak. For centuries, royal addresses have been ceremonial and cautious. Not this one. The trust between the people and their government is the foundation of this nation, he said. When that trust is broken, the nation itself cannot stand secure. Gasps filled the chamber. Keir Starmer froze. Leadership is not a privilege, the king continued. It is a duty. To govern without the consent of the people is to govern without legitimacy. In less than 5 minutes, Charles had done what no monarch had dared in centuries: challenge power in defense of the people. The effect was immediate. Ministers began to resign, aides leaked frantic messages, and protesters flooded the streets from London to Glasgow chanting, "Election now." Markets plunged, police struggled to contain the crowds, and Westminster spiraled into chaos. Inside Downing Street, officials called it panic without precedent. What began as a petition had become a revolution. For the first time in living memory, Britain's rulers had lost the consent of the ruled. Now the nation stands at a knife's edge. King Charles is hailed by millions as the monarch who defended democracy and condemned by others as the sovereign who broke it. The future of the crown and the stability of the country hang on his next move. Within 48 hours, he must decide whether to dissolve Parliament or retreat into silence. The eyes of the world are fixed on London. Every second counts. The countdown has begun, and the next words from Buckingham Palace will decide not just who governs Britain, but whether the crown itself survives. The clock is still ticking, and this story is changing by the hour. If you want the next chapter the moment it breaks, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay with us, because what happens next could rewrite British history.